Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and with me, as always, and back is Jamie Ueyama, Jamie University. It is Thursday, June 15th. It is my children's last day of school, and so we are kicking off the summer with some hot takes, Jamie. We're going to be throwing out some takes. I told you one of mine, and you just laughed. You just laughed about it. So it's the time for the take. So we're going to talk about those things. Whatever else comes up in the chat. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. I love everyone. We've gotten some pretty good subscriptions lately, Jamie. I'm really happy about that. Let's get to 7K before that's going to be tough. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be difficult to get 7K before fall practice starts, but I think we can do it. I'm setting a high bar, Jamie. I think that's what we should do. That's what the Hit and Hustle program is all about. But the hottest take, Jamie, here, I got a hot take for you. If you purchase and wear Ga Wang's bamboo dress shirt, Jamie, you will never wear another dress shirt again. You will refuse to put on substandard clothing and material after you go to ESQclothing.com and put on his shirts. That's what my hot take for the day, or the initial hot take for the day. And I got good news for everybody. Ga Wang is running a special Father's Day special on all shirts online at ESQclothing.com. So go to ESQclothing.com. Everything is 20% off, right? And you don't have to put in a promo code, right? The discount is automatically, once you go to checkout, the discount is automatically added. So you don't have to worry about promo codes and any of those things. So go to ESQclothing.com, upgrade your shirt game, bamboo dress shirts. We've talked about it how many times, Jamie? Soft, comfortable, stretch, breathable, machine washable, wrinkle resistant, odor resistant, everything you want. I'm telling you, it's gonna be. You're never gonna wear another dress shirt ever again. That's my hot take for the day, Jamie. What do you think about that?
I was gonna say I got a cool take. Wear the bamboo shirts because you're gonna feel cool as ever.
Ooh, you want to feel cool?
Especially because it's getting hot outside, and
It is, yes.
yeah, it's getting ridiculous right now. So, and it's summer wedding season. People have to go to weddings and stuff, and you got to wear dress shirts, and it's not a good. I mean, if you're like me, you're sweating through those shirts if you got to wear an actual suit, and sometimes these people, I mean, the pictures look nice for the outdoor weddings, but it's not a nice thing to get married outside for a lot of people. So if you're going to do it, you might as well wear those bamboo shirts while you're out there.
Yeah, so get it. It's hot. Cool off in Ga Wang's bamboo dress shirts. ESQclothing.com. 20% off for Father's Day. Check it out. All right, Jamie. We missed you on Tuesday. Christian filled in admirably. I kept calling him Jamie. I don't know if you heard that, but I kept.
I did.
Yeah, I kept calling him Jamie. It was just like I have it's just such a routine for me to say it. So we missed you, but I wanted to talk about it because it's Father's Day weekend, and so that's coming up. And the reason you missed the show is you were traveling to a ceremony for your father. Why don't you tell us about that, Jamie? Prop up your pops.
Oh yeah, so my dad was at my high school. My dad was honored. He was my coach. For those that don't know, my dad was a longtime high school football coach for over 30 years, and he got inducted into this North Delta, where my hometown. He got inducted into North Delta Secondary, my high school's honor roll. And it was a great time. He's already been, it was probably like overdue because he's already in the Delta Sports Hall of Fame. He's already like a Hall of Fame coach, whatever. This was just like the high school thing. And he coached at 3 different high schools in Delta, and, obviously won a lot of games, won championships, put a ton of guys into college football. He's got I think 10 guys who have played pro football. So just a bunch of guys that played for him during the 90s is when he was at North Delta, and they had a ton of success there. And just a bunch of guys that came out to honor him. All guys that were all in our 40s. We're all in our 40s now, and everybody's got family, so it's tough to get out, and it means you're missing like a baseball game, you're missing a soccer game, you're missing whatever to get out. But everybody was out there to honor him, and it was a great time. It was a really great time, reminiscing. Just a lot of great people there that some of these people I haven't seen in like 20 years. So it was really, really, really fun to be out there.
Yeah. Congratulations to him. I assume he was your coach. Did he coach you?
Yes, he was my coach. Yeah.
How did that go? How did he coach you?
He coached me hard. I'd say he coached me probably harder than everybody else. He definitely did not play favorites with me. That definitely was never his style. But at the same time, he never was like harder on me in a way that was not pushing me. He was always supportive. He's always a guy, even though he was definitely old school. A yeller, very vocal.
Yeah.
Really was a guy who kind of celebrated kids and really pushed them and encouraged them. And it's crazy because in this day and age, there's a lot of people, and whatever, things change, whatever. But everybody, it's so funny that everybody was there. It's kind of amazing because everybody there had a family.
Yeah.
No one was divorced, which whatever. Stuff happens, whatever. But just everybody had a family, and they they had their kids, and a lot of them are coaching. Their kids' sports right now, and he was a guy who just influenced a lot of us in that way too. And I also had all the advantages of being a coach's son too, where I get to watch film with him all the time, extra, and got all that extra stuff too. And it's all crazy too, because back then there were it was the start of like people kind of like paying for like private coaching and personal training and all that kind of stuff. And the people at our high school, none of us had to do that. We didn't have to pay, do any of that. My dad was doing that stuff in the off season, in the summer, taking time out of it. It was incredible too, when there were so many of us who were playing college ball, would all come back and we trained with the high school guys. And it was like one of these things where everybody kind of pushed each other, and he'd put together weight training programs and just training programs for everybody. And man, we all benefit from it. And now I think about it, and it would cost people thousands of dollars to get that kind of stuff too. And I don't know if that, there's definitely some high school coaches that are doing that, but not many, right? Not many are doing that kind of thing too. So, definitely was lucky to have.
Yeah. So my dad, he coached me too. He was not the head coach, right? So when I was in high school, he just coached, like I was a wide receiver in my senior year. He coached me in that because he played at my high school. He was a receiver at my high school as well. So, he had a background in it. But I think he did it just because it was like they had a position open, and it was like, I can, spend my son's senior year coaching him, and so I think that was very cool for him. And it's something to kind of know about my dad is his father died when he was like 12. So they didn't have like a very close relationship, just because of, he lost it. And so he always wanted to be close to the kids. I played so he coached me in like little league, soccer, like everything. And he's probably missed, he doesn't miss any of these shows. I don't know if he's listening right this second, but he will listen to this at some point. So he doesn't miss anything. Like he really does not. And now it's same thing for the grandkids. So he just wants to be around. I don't remember how he coached me specifically, just because it blends between him coaching me and him being like my dad. Yeah. It's all kind of the same, right? Like the way that he yelled at me, it was like, the same way he would yell at me if I didn't get my homework done or if I didn't clean my
Yeah.
room or something. Like it was that. Like it was like he's not young. Like so I don't have a good gauge for like how he was with other people, because to me it was just like he's my dad. If I mess up, he's gonna yell at me. And that's how it was at home. That's how it is on the field and stuff. So that's cool. I mean, it's super lucky, listening to you talk about your dad and my experience with mine. Super lucky to have that relationship, right? Where it's like there's a common thing in common that you guys have. You can always talk about it. You can always talk about, players, schemes, all those other things. And that's really cool. Like, it's very cool to have that. So congratulations to your dad. Happy Father's Day to both of our fathers and fathers out there and whoever. That's awesome. So I wanted to make sure to highlight your father there, because that's a really cool thing that happened. We've got some hot takes in the chat, Jamie. I'm just gonna put some up. Spend a little bit of time on it. Chris Wojak says that 78 catches for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns for Tobias. That's a hot take. That's like kind of Maurice Stovall, Jeff Samardzija circa 2005. So, but that kind of blends with one of your hot takes later on. So maybe Chris is onto something there. I mean, Jamie, I'll just put it up. I'll just put it up right now. Jamie says Sam Hartman's going to have a top 3 season all time at Notre Dame. I believe is the thing. So a Notre Dame quarterback, top 3 season all time. Tobias Merriweather, if he's going to do that, someone's going to have to do numbers, and Tobias Merriweather may be one of those players. So
probably a couple guys going to have to.
Probably a couple guys, right? Like I think you're looking at Jaden Thomas and probably Tobias as like 2 guys who are like the Samardzija Stovall of the 2023 team. Why do you think that, Jamie? In terms, not just the fact that, like, okay, obviously he's a good quarterback. They like to throw the ball and that sort of, or he likes to throw the ball. Notre Dame's going to want to throw the ball. But why do you think this is going to come to fruition? Top 3 season all time. That's big time.
Well, one, because I mean, there's evidence that he's put up numbers at Wake Forest. He put up like big numbers there, and the third highest mark for a single season passing yards at Notre Dame is Everett Golson, and it was like 3,400 yards basically.
This was to 2014.
2014, right? 2014. I just think it's extremely achievable that he's going to get 3,500 yards, right? That's basically like, I don't know, 270 a game or something, right? Like, or whatever. Like it's close to that. So if he's doing that, I think that is totally achievable, because I think he's going to have some games where it's like, man, he threw for 380, he threw for 400 or whatever. I think those are going to be, there's going to be a couple of those games. And then there'll be some games too where he throws for like, I don't know, 200 or whatever. I just don't see too many games where he's going to be like, they ran the ball and he only thrown for 170. I just don't see that with him, because I think he's going to be efficient enough, and they're going to create enough big plays for that to happen, for that to kind of never happen, really, right? Yeah. So I just think that I don't know if there's going to be a full like a dominant season from like those numbers for Tobias. I mean, that's lofty. I would highly doubt he's going to put up exactly like, I mean, that would be phenomenal for Notre Dame if he does, but I was thinking he'd probably a terrific season with him would be closer to the 800 yard range or whatever, right? Where he's like, 50 for 800 or whatever it is, right? But you're also getting another guy in like maybe Jaden Thomas has 1,100 yards or something, right? Like, you have to kind of have that, and I also think they're going to spread the ball around more, and there's going to be kind of enough there for them to have it, and also too, like the backs, I think are going to contribute there as well. I think someone like Mitchell Evans is going to have a much bigger season than people would expect as well. And just like the tight end position in general. So I think it's just very achievable. it's going to happen. There's definitely going to be some games where they go off. And one of the only things that I think could make it not happen is that they get into games where they just end up running the ball 50 times or whatever, right? And if they have too many of those games, then maybe it doesn't happen. But I think it's going to happen over 13 games. And obviously he has to stay healthy and all that. That goes without saying. But over 13 games, I think it's definitely achievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely out there. It's definitely out there. And I think one thing people need to remember, too, about the 05 team is they didn't have the depth of options that this team will have. Because, like, Samardzija, like, if Rima McKnight hadn't gotten hurt, then those guys that Samardzija,
everybody's numbers kind of go down.
Their numbers go down, just because he would have gotten a much greater target share. And so that's probably what we're looking at there. So I dig it, Jamie. I dig it. I think, and look, I think some people would say, many people would say, like, this should be the expectation. It should be it's 2023. Let's have a modern offense, right? Like, let's throw for some yards, 3,800, 4,000. Like, let's go. Let's go get it.
And Troy McIntosh, just so people know too, Brady Quinn, his first season, that it was that Samardzija Stovall season. That is the highest number single season, and then Clausen is second, so that's last Clausen season, and then Golson third, and then Brady Quinn's senior season is fourth, right, which was also it was a big year, but not quite the same year that it was before.
All right, let's run through some other hot takes from the chat. Brian Farmer says, if we don't get Justin Scott, the program is in jeopardy. If we're unable to get a 5-star, we will never win a natty. I don't think the program is in jeopardy, but I honestly, like, I think I like the take, though. Honestly, I do, because this is what this program is for. Like, you throw it out there, like, hey, we're in trouble. Notre Dame is in trouble if you can't land a 5-star like Justin Scott. Maybe not specific, because it sounds like he's saying, like, a 5-star Chicago kid, in a position of need, right? Like, you always need an interior defensive lineman like that. And so it's like, if Notre Dame can't land that type of player, the program is in jeopardy. Which, look, I don't know. Like, you can make the case for it. I don't think that's true specifically to Justin Scott. But, I mean, they do need to – and you wrote it kind of in 6 thoughts today, right? Where it's like, there's the blue chip ratio, and then there's the amount of top 50 players you're getting, right? And so that needs to tick up for Notre Dame. Like, where they are blue chip wise is good, but if there was like a elite blue, like a super blue chip ratio, like, they would not be doing very well in that category, right? And so I think that's what kind of Brian Farmer's kind of getting at there. So it's fair take. I think that's fair. Let's say Patrick Quinlan says, morning, fellas. Question for you two. If Notre Dame went 12-0 with a dominant offense, but the defense was mediocre, would Freeman be willing to make changes on the defensive staff despite the team's success?
Well, one, there's 0% chance that they have a mediocre defense and go 12-0.
Yes, that's tough. It would definitely be better than mediocre. They've never had a mediocre defense and gone undefeated ever. In the recent, when has that happened?
They would actually have to have, like, the number one offense in the country for that to even be a possibility. And I do think the offense is going to be good this year, but I don't think they're going to be the number one. I mean, it's probably a lot to ask them to be top 5. I think that I just, there's no way that they would have a mediocre defense. If they have, I just forget the record part about it. Like, let's just say they go 10-2, right? They go 10-2, and they have a good offense, right? They have a top 10 offense, and then the defense is like top 30.
Yeah,
I think 100% they would have to look at stuff there, because even though I do think there's clearly, and it's something I wrote about in 6 thoughts too. Like, they don't have, like, there isn't where they've had in recent years where Foskey's coming back.
Mm.
Hamilton's coming back. And then it's like, okay, Hamilton and Foskey, like, they don't have that guy this year or multiple guys. And look at the 2018 team, and then you were like, and how good the people that were coming back. So you were like, man, Jerry Tillery is good, and you're like, he might have a chance to be great, but it's like, at least you're getting good back. Tavon Coney was great, and he's coming back. Drew Tranquil, I was like borderline great. He's coming back. Julian Love, great, coming back. So just those guys there, all coming back, is like, that's the foundation of a really, really good defense. And then when you add like guys like Julian Okwara, Khalid Kareem taking jumps, and then you have Alohi Gilman comes in and makes a massive impact, then all of a sudden you have a great defense, right?
Yeah.
And Notre Dame doesn't have that this year. They don't have all these guys that are coming back that are like sure studs. So they're going to rely on, I mean, other than really it's Benjamin Morrison, right?
Yeah.
It's Benjamin Morrison. So you're counting on him to build off of his freshman year, and he's probably going to be fantastic this year. But there's all these other pieces. There's a lot of ifs, right? And so to be fair to the staff, there's a lot of ifs there because the talent, they didn't recruit as well that the latter part of the Kelly years. So that they don't have as many studs there. So it's like, now it's got to be, Mills has to take a jump. Botello has to be the guy that he was at the last third of the season. He has to be that all year, right? He has to be that all year. You have to get somebody at linebacker, like, because Bertrand can be just still solid, but there has to be somebody else at linebacker who takes a big jump, right? Whether that's Maris or Kaiser or Jalen Sneed or whoever, right? Nolan Ziegler, whoever. Like, someone needs to take a big jump there. And you need like Cam Hart to be at very least the guy that he was in the 2021 season, right? And then if that all happens, whatever, you're going to have a really, really good defense, but that's a lot of ifs, right? And where it's been kind of a while since Notre Dame kind of had that situation. And so there's a lot on that, but then there's also on some of these like sophomores. Are these guys going to really like step up and all of a sudden just, throw it out like Josh Burnham? All of a sudden Josh Burnham is like, by the end of the season, he's a dude or something, right? Like something, is they're going to have that too. So they kind of need all that kind of stuff to happen. I just don't think things are in line for Notre Dame to have a top 10 defense this year. I just think it would be like kind of crazy if that would be really surpassing expectations. But there's really, even with all this said, there's no reason Notre Dame shouldn't be a top 20 defense. Like, they should be a top 20 defense. And if they're not, you have to look at it. But I also think like, I think people know that Al Golden was interviewing for, not defensive coordinator positions in the NFL. So I think Marcus Freeman might not have to worry about it. Al Golden might just go to the NFL anyway. So I don't know if he would have to make that decision. I just think might just be what happens.
Yeah. And this kind of leads into one of my hot takes is Marcus Freeman should be running his defense. I was watching, so the last couple of days I've been watching kind of the end of 2021. And we talked about this a lot. We talked about this a good amount. And this was 2021 was like just prior to me joining ISD. But at this point we were talking about things like kind of offline, like we were always chatting about what they were doing and what we liked, and we were both sharing videos, and we were just kind of going back and forth. There were so many things that Marcus Freeman's defense was doing the latter half, especially after Kyle Hamilton got hurt. I was like, man, I really like this stuff. Like, and it was clear that they were, it took them a little bit to get used to it because of the change. And Drew White talked about this too, like where it was like, it was easier, but also like it took a while to get to get up to speed on like how they could fit within the defense. I really like the schemes. I really liked how we utilize players. And I don't like the trade-off. And we didn't know this at the time, but I didn't like the trade-off between Marcus Freeman being named the head coach and what he did with the defense. I really wish he'd have kept it. And I really wish maybe he doesn't run it like he's the DC, but he brings in someone who knows how to run his defense. I just think people need to remember when he was hired, it was such a big deal because he was a defensive mind. Like he had a really good defensive mind, and he was a huge hire because of that. Not because he was going to be the head coach in waiting. And I feel like it's been so much now is like Marcus Freeman, the recruiter, and what he can bring to recruiting. He can bring so much to the defense. And I feel like that isn't talked about, not just by fans, but like also I don't really hear Marcus emphasizing that either. And I want him to lean back into that. Like lean back into your defensive roots. I think he is the answer for Notre Dame on defense. I think he is the best defensive coach on the staff by far. And like if you were telling me like, hey, like in before 2021, you want Notre Dame to hire Al Golden, or do you want them to hire Marcus Freeman to be defensive coordinator? It's Marcus Freeman. Like, it's not even a question, right? And I think there was a thought that like, oh, you bring in Al Golden in addition to Marcus Freeman, then it's like, okay, those two together is better than just Marcus Freeman by himself. I don't know that that's necessarily true anymore. And so I think Marcus needs to be running his defense. And if this doesn't work, I think we will look back on the decision not to as one of the biggest mistakes. I really think that he should be running his own defense there. What do you think, James?
I would slightly agree, but I think it's more towards not like scheme or anything like that. But I think it's more of like, and to go back to your interview with Drew White when he was kind of talking about how, no pun intended, guys were playing more free, right?
Yeah.
And I think too, as there is obviously a ton of criticism of Maris Liufau's play last year, right? And they're like, why is this guy playing so much? Because the production didn't match the number of snaps, right? And I think in less of in terms of how he was used and more of like, I think in that defense where everyone is talking about this guy's ready to be like a star, whatever, right? I think part of it was the ability to be kind of what Drew was saying about you can make a mistake, but you didn't do it exactly right, but you made the play. So we're going to live with that. And I think that was kind of part of like Liufau's game. And I think there's just probably, and I think even for someone like Jalen Sneed this year, I mean, yes, whatever. Everyone needs to learn the scheme, and you just.
I'm throwing it up. I'm throwing up. Greg F is making an excellent point. Thank you, Ray Hallcraft. Thank you.
Yeah.
What a great guy. Subscribe to the show. Haven't seen you in the show before, Ray.
I think that like there just was that kind of thing where I just think it allows some guys, especially too, when you look at how if we've always talked about how the most talented players in the defense are the young players on the defense. And how do you get the younger players on the field more is you simplify things and you make it easier for these guys to do it. And yes, you're not going to probably win with scheme. And I'm not saying that like, scheme matters, preparation matters, how you prepare for each opponent and what you're doing every week, all that kind of stuff matters. But I mean, Freeman's kind of philosophy on defense is get the best 11 out there. Yeah. And then we kind of, roll with it. And no matter kind of what happens going forward, I personally just think that is the best way to go for Notre Dame in general, is to get those guys, get the most talented guys out there, and get them to play fast, physical, and you roll with it from there. And that way you're maximizing the talent on the team, because I think especially in 2024 and beyond, Notre Dame is going to have arguably like some of the best athletes that they've had on defense in many years, just that are starting to get into, like, have been in the program for a couple of years and have developed. So I just think that's kind of like the way it should be going forward. So yeah, like, I'll agree that I think that he needs more influence in general, and it's not just schematically, but just the overall philosophy of how Notre Dame needs to be, period. Because I just think that's something where, especially with Notre Dame, and Notre Dame doesn't have enough Georgia guys to be like, okay, now as these guys are all cooking it in year 3 and 4, whatever, right? It's like, nah, you just need as many dudes as possible. And if this guy's a freshman dude, and he needs to be able to, like, and of course you want guys like Benjamin Morrison, who's just like super smart and able to pick things up and whatever, but not everyone's like that. So you have to make it as easy as possible for guys to succeed. Yeah.
I mean, and so I think we kind of mostly agree. And to be clear, it's not an anti-Al Golden take per se, right? It's just that I think that I don't see enough value add from Freeman as a defensive coach right now that I want. That's basically. So, like, I want Freeman to have more hands on the defense. I want him to have a better control of what the defense is doing. And I don't feel like he's that involved right now in terms of like when have we heard him, when was the last time you heard of him like he is coaching up the linebackers? Have you heard that lately? Because I haven't. Maybe you have. Maybe you've seen it.
I mean, we don't get enough access to practice. We just don't get enough access to practice to say that he's not. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of these things. Right. Like, you can't. So we aren't there for enough practices to say that he's not. We're not, like, I don't know how involved he is in, like, does he go to like linebacker? I mean, I don't know. So I can't say, like, I can't criticize him for that.
To me, it's not a criticism. It's not a criticism. It isn't. And I understand why he's not. It's more like, I feel like Notre Dame is really losing something on the staff if he isn't doing it.
I will say one of the things, here's the one thing that Notre Dame has been selling to linebacker recruits is that we've got 3, I mean, our head coach is linebacker coach, Al Golden's linebacker coach.
Right.
And we have Max Bull's linebacker. Like, they have that. Then I'm like, okay, that is great. But, is how involved is he in that? I don't know. So yeah, it is like one of those things where it's like, it's nice saying that, but it's like, it's like, I mean, I guess it doesn't totally correlate because it's how Jared Parker's the tight ends coach, and you could say like, oh, like, of course he's the tight ends coach and he's also the offensive coordinator, so the tight ends gets the ball. It's like, well, it wouldn't matter who's the offensive coordinator, what position he coached. Like, the tight end's going to get the ball in Notre Dame because that's how it's been. They always have good tight ends, right? So it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, I guess you can kind of use that, but it's like, it's really not going to make that much of a difference if like Gino Guidugli was the thing, and it was like the tight end still getting the ball, right? Yeah, it's just like one of these things that I'm like always like, you're selling it, but I'm like, I mean, I don't know how much he's involved in actually still coaching linebackers. I know he is a good linebacker coach. I know that.
Yeah, agree to that. Patrick Carter with a terrible take. Hot take: the staff did nothing wrong. Never playing Kyle Hamilton offense. First of all, that's a double negative, and so that's no good. marks down on the grammar. As far as not play, I think that's proven. I think that's been proven false. Mistakes were made. Should have done it. I'm sorry that people were wrong about that. You run them down on punts. You can run them down on punts. You can run them down to catch a pass. Right, Jamie? I mean, that just philosophically speaking, if you can cover a punt, you can run down and try to catch a jump ball. David Lowe, LOL, just found the show. It's funny seeing people from other podcasts here. Do y'all have jobs? First of all, David,
people in the
chat.
I think you talk about people in the chat.
People in the chat. First of all, I hope you do have jobs. And second of all, thank you for tuning in. Listen. You know, everyone needs background stuff in their head. You know, and people need to have a distraction from the work.
People have different hours.
Working on different hours. TPS reports. People are working at home, working from home now, Jamie. People are working from home now.
Yeah.
And by the way, my wonderful friend David. First of all, thank you for finding the show, David. Hit the subscribe button. That would be very nice. We would love to have you back. We'd love to have you back. Maybe, you know what, David, throw in a hot take in the chat and we'll put it up.
Also, if you do have a job and you can't listen, we're also a podcast. So check it out. You can
also a
later.
podcast on links in the description below. Also, David, if you're seeing people from other podcasts here, then you are my friend.
That means
do you have a job, David? Do you need a job, David? Put it in the chat.
Good point.
You need a job,
good point.
Maybe someone could get David a job. Thanks for being here, buddy. All right, let's. I want to put up. Coach Humph put up a question, and I don't know what this is. I'm going to read it though, because he was here before the show started. Jamie and Greg, I have a hot take. I would have to post it in the comments once the live show is over. I don't know what that means. The headline: Swarbrick's 2024 playoff path for Notre Dame is near genius. Will you read it? So I read the question. Do you think Swarbrick's 2024 playoff path is near genius, Jamie?
I mean, I guess I have to look at the 2024 schedule just off the top of my head. I know they're playing A&M, but I mean, did Swarbrick have a master plan of Jimbo just Jimboing it up and screwing that with that class? Because this is actually something, whatever. It's like one of these things that I've like saved and I'm gonna kind of like write about later, kind of like looking ahead at that 2024. But like, they lost a lot of dudes from not just that number one recruiting class, but the class that will be seniors. So the lost guys who are going to be guys there that aren't in the program anymore.
Yeah.
That you would think, like, in terms of like, oh, the blue chip ratio, how they recruited. I mean, it's going to look like they're loaded, but they really aren't going to be as loaded actually on the roster. So unless Jack Swarbrick's like, I know all these guys are going to transfer, like, then I don't know if it was a really brilliant thing. But I haven't looked at the whole how everything is constructed there. I think they have I think they play Florida State and Miami too. So, and I mean, I have no idea. Like, did Jack Swarbrick know that? Like, first of all, he definitely did not planning those ACC schedules in advance. Those are way in advance. But like, did he know it's like, well, Jordan Travis is going to be gone from Florida State or whatever? Like, I mean, maybe that's why he's Savvy Jack. He was thinking 10 steps ahead of everybody else. But I don't know. I'm interested to hear Coach Hump's take, because
whatever the take is, put it in later.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he might have been talking about the playoff path.
Yeah,
like the path to the playoff, like not the schedule per se, but like the
way
the
20, like the 20 or the actual 12 team thing. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, okay. I think that's
I meant to say new playoff format.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
I think so. The only thing that would make people upset is they can never have a bye. They can't get in the top 4 with a bye in the playoffs. I think if they finish number 1, they're going to be the 5 seed. is basically, I think that's what the biggest problem that people will have for it. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad take. If you like that, I dig. Let's, once the live show is over, can leave comments on the channel page. Leave a comment, Coach Humph. Make your case, and then we'll talk about it on another show. That's a good one. David Lowe, his hot take is Freeman needs to recruit better on defense. He was brought in as the elite defensive mind. I mean, it's hard.
Pretty good on defense.
It's hard because, people are. I think that's
recency bias.
Yeah, it's so the last couple years, the defensive recruiting has been unbelievable. So let's see. Let's simmer this take. Let's put the David, let's put this take on simmer, and we'll come back to it once kind of the cycle's over. We actually see who they land. Like if they land Justin Scott, and if they land like Caleb Beasley, then maybe we're not feeling like that. So let's hit it. Let's simmer on this one. All right, let's put up another one because we're running. Let's do the commits. Here we go. We're talking recruiting. Jamie says 2 commits. So 2 current commitments who aren't in the top 100 will move into the top 100 before the cycle ends. Jamie, first of all, who do you think that's going to be?
Well, I think the one thing is that there's a lot of guys that it could be, and I also think why. I think there's a fair criticism of kind of where things are trending right now with recruiting in regards to like, okay, well, you thought that maybe they had a shot at Elijah Rushing. Well, they don't.
No.
It was like the before the visit was over, it was like, nah, it's not happening, right? And there's been a lot of that kind of stuff too, where it's like, man, TJ Lindsay seems to be like, well, no, he's not. Like, there's been a lot of that, and certainly, like, I think safety recruiting, there's a lot of like, I don't know where everything's going. Like, I certainly think they have a really good. They're probably going to get Bronte Johnson, right?
Did you hear? Did you hear the comment that Christian had on the show?
No, what?
I asked him about safety recruiting, and he said a source told him that it was a poop show, but he didn't use the word poop.
Yeah.
So that's a hot take.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought that was funny. Continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like one of those things where, Matt had said, and whatever, I'm not getting on Matt for this, because it did look like that. If things were training where they were like, oh, they're going to have to, they're going to have to turn people down. Well, it's like, well, other guys have been committed to these other places before they visit. So It's like, well, what are you going to do? And then, for whatever reason, you can say they didn't handle the Menke thing right, or maybe Menke's mom wanted him to go to Duke or whatever, or maybe you weren't a fan of Menke anyways, but like, it didn't go well for them, right? It didn't go well for them, and he committed to Duke. So I think, that is something that I think is totally fair. And, and I said, like, there's a lot of people coming at Chris O'Leary because they were like, what's going on there? And I said, like, people should just let it play out. I don't think some of the previous stuff with him was totally unfair, but, as the things go out, like, people say, like, I mean, Chris O'Leary, the pressure is on, right? That's how it is. And you have to close, and you have to get these guys. And then if you don't, it's, I mean, there's still time to recover, but you got to recover. You better recover. And I think just in general, though, you're like, well, what's going to happen with some of the stuff? I think it's pretty critical that if they could get a guy like Kingston Viliamu-Asa, that would be pretty critical. Like that would help change some things. But it's just like so funny how the ebb and flows of recruiting. Things can be looking good, and then they can go back down. But I will say that the class they have right now, one thing, I think there's a lot of kids that are underrated. We talked about this on Power Hour with Mike. I mean, Mike is really high on the class in general, I would say. Like he's really high in the class in general. And I will agree that I think that there's a lot of guys that I think have a chance to really move up. How many guys are actually going to move up? I don't know, because a lot of these industry, people don't like to admit they're wrong. They're way wrong on stuff. They don't so they like to stick with their kind of initial thing. So I think there's probably not enough adjustment with senior film, considering like guys haven't played a senior year. Like there's going to be a lot of film left to adjust, and then they don't adjust enough for a lot of guys. But I think like Bryce Young, Leonard Moore, Logan Thomas, Isaiah Canyon, like those are guys who are going to move up, who should move up, and I think will move up. And I think specifically, I would say Young, Thomas, Isaiah Canyon are guys that I could see making big moves. And I think Thomas, there's a very good chance that he's going to be a guy that he's like, well, I mean, he ends up as being like the 75th ranked guy or whatever. And Isaiah Canyon definitely, I think, is going to move up. And whether it's top 100, I mean, we'll see. But he already has like the elite testing numbers. It's like, well, now if he's like focusing more on receiver and he's that guy, and then all of a sudden he has this monster year, then he's going to go up. And I think Bryce Young too is, because right now so much of it is about the raw tools and how like he's a lack of experience, but he's someone that I would put in the like, you know, Jason Owe kind of category where you're like, man, this guy has all these great tools and he didn't really have the experience, even though he's, you know, the son of a Hall of Fame coach or whatever. But I put him in like that Joe Alt kind of thing where it's like he has a chance to move way up.
Yeah.
And because, you know, he's like a low 4-star right now, you know, just throughout the industry, he could be a really high 4-star by the time it's done. And so, you know, they already have, so this isn't, it's adding on to CJ Carr and Cam Williams. And, you know, we'll see with some of the other guys they can add too. But I think there's at least a couple guys that have a really good chance at moving up into that top 100. And then all of a sudden it's like, that just shows how one of the things where it's like the perception of the class changes based on certain guys moving up. It's just like how last year, you know, Ben Minish gets offered and people are like, I don't know, look at, he's like ranked like 800th or something. Well, he ends up as a 4-star, right? Like, you know, Mookum was like 1000th or something by 24 something. He ends up in their top 200, right? Like it's just, things change, and there's guys who have a chance to really go shoot way up. And I think there's going to be at least a couple that shoot way up. So it's like one of those things where it's like the class is like ranked how it is. And I know that things are going to drop, people are going to move up, whatever. They do have to close on some other things, but also they're going to have a chance to move up partially because some of the guys they already have are underrated and are going to be risers.
Yeah. So David Lowe put up a comment here about players go up, right? So we're talking about players who could rise, and players drop as well. And that's a good point. I do think though that
sorry to interrupt, but I just don't think there's as many guys. It's not like, because Notre Dame doesn't have guys like Brennan Vernon and Drake Bowen who were like very early, super high ranked, but probably like overranked a little bit. I mean, definitely with Vernon. So because they don't have as many of those guys, none of these guys are going to drop a ton. Like, and
they wouldn't drop very far.
Like Jack Larson has already had his drop. He's not going to drop to not being like a 4-star or whatever. That's not going to happen. So I think a lot of those guys who are that, and like part of what this Dark Moonblade guy has mentioned too, Notre Dame has targeted a lot of guys that have these athletic traits that I think are that have the most chance to jump up because of like their development on the field, and they already have this athletic testing, so they're gonna go up. So there's just a lot more in this class. I would say just in general, there's way more guys that I think have a chance to move up, and than the guys that have to move down. You know, because I don't see CJ Carr or Cam Williams kind of moving down. Maybe they could a little, but not a lot. They're definitely not. And I think it's probably a greater chance that those guys end up moving up by the end of the process. But then I think just in general, because just of how the class is structured, there's way more guys where like a Teddy Rizak, I don't know if he's going to be a 4-star, but I doubt he's going to end up as 800th or whatever, or you know what I mean? Like he's going to be a guy. There's a lot of guys like that.
Yeah, like so you just made the point that I was going to make. Like when you are after players with high upside guys who are lower ranked, right? Well, first of all, they can't go backward, So like that's why a lot of people are down on recruiting because they're already ranked low. So like the fact that you have traits. So like someone like Aeneas Williams, he's a guy who it's like, I don't know where he's going. Like, I don't think he would go up. Like someone mentioned him in the chat. I don't think he would because he doesn't have the size and he doesn't have that elite testing. So it's like he's going to be wherever he is. But like you said, Bryce Young, Isaiah Canyon, Logan Thomas, like these are guys who are long, they have elite traits. Like Bryce Young's running like sub 23 second 200s as a defensive end, right? Like Logan Thomas is running, like he's posting clips of like he's running fast 40s. Isaiah Canyon is like a crazy athlete. Like he is. I mean, Matt posted a video of him playing baseball. He hit the ball in a gap, and just the way he's running the bases, like, man, that guy's flying. Yeah. You get guys like that, like they are going to move up. That's what the service is like. They like those athletic traits. And so that's where it's going to go. And so that's why I think, Jamie's saying 2 commits in the top 100. I think that's where it's like, I think there's a good chance of that. I do.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. Go ahead.
And I think just one other thing to kind of build off of, like, so if you look at guys that are on the roster right now, like guys like JD Bertrand and Howard Cross, I mean, really good football players, guys who are going to help your team contribute. And they were low 4-stars and they kind of stayed there and they weren't going to ever move up because of what you said. They didn't have the physical and athletic traits that would make it. Like Howard Cross wasn't all of a sudden going to become 6'4", 290. Even though he had like a dominant senior season, he wasn't going to move up because he didn't have exactly what you were just saying, Greg, those physical traits. And a lot of these other guys do. So there's just the odds of more of these guys going up are much, much higher.
Yeah. To be fair too, or not to be fair or whatever, it's just something to keep in mind with the jump in rankings comes a jump in attention that they'll get from other schools. That's something to monitor too. So that's something to keep in mind. Like there are guys like if Logan Thomas makes it, like if he gets in the top 100, Isaiah Canyon, if he gets in the top 100, there's going to be a different amount of attention given to those guys. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. Like you want them to be good, but you don't want like other people to know.
You want to be the first, and you want to get them committed. It's like how Dylan Edwards was like, okay, Notre Dame flipped him from Kansas State, and then it was like, okay, he just had this phenomenal senior season where he was just so explosive, where all of a sudden he just got that more attention. And I mean, as it worked out with the Colorado thing was like a completely different deal why he ended up flipping, but like he definitely got a lot more attention, and that's recruiting. That's part of it.
Yeah. Okay. We probably only have time for one more, and I'm going to throw one out that is
let's
hot take. Okay. But I just let me massage it. Okay. Let me get to it. Okay. Notre Dame going with Nike is the key to a national championship. And let me tell you why. First of all, Nike's good. Nike's got good stuff, Jamie. Everyone thinks it. They've got
everyone agrees.
They've got great things. Okay. So that's one. Better feet. That the Notre Dame will have better feet health. And you always need that if you want to win a national championship. Second of all, I think Notre Dame really needs to have an overhaul in the way that they think about everything. And I think going with Nike is kind of symbolic of that. So it's not so much Nike as it is a symbol of like, how long have we heard Notre Dame never go with Nike? They will never do it. It's never happening. Like, honestly, 5 years ago, I never thought we'd be having this conversation that they could go to Nike. I just didn't think they would. Right. And I think they need to have just a complete, like, nothing is off the table. We're going to go with Nike. we're going to find, like Marcus Freeman's talking about, we need to find ways to get undergrads into school from the portal, right? And to be fair to the outlet, that was an On3. I saw a tweet from On3. That was an On3 report that he gave that quote. So I should give them their credit for that. But it's like he's talking about that. And you're going with Nike. I think they're going to push the envelope with the TV deal now coming up. You have Pete Bavacos coming in. He was the chairman of NBC, knows how to make a deal with NBC, knows how to make a good deal with NBC. I think he's going to do that. I think that they are going to make changes to the Goog, and I think they need to like really push the envelope with things. And I think going with Nike would be like, if they stick with Under Armour, Jamie, I'm just like, it's not a big deal, but to me, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, I think.
Like it's a big deal. And so like to me, you go with Nike, and that is like, okay, Notre Dame is ready to really push the envelope with everything football program, right? And not just football program, but that going with Nike would be great for all the athletic teams, period. So that's that. But I just think as a symbol, going with Nike is the key to Notre Dame taking the next step as a program. I promise you, people think that Nike versus Under Armour is like no big deal to these guys. I'm telling you,
it's a big deal.
It matters to players, both on the team and incoming. It matters. And so I think that's the key, Jamie. I think you want to be a serious program, go with Nike. Go on to the national championship.
Actually, you know what? I actually would be pretty interesting. Nike got us victory. Great call, Rajon. I actually would be interested to look at, because I'm trying to think of all of, so just say national championships, college football playoff era, right? So 2014 on, right? I think it's all Nike schools. And obviously Nike dominates the, in general, right?
Yeah.
There's, in terms of like, Nike probably has the most representation of college programs, right? But so Ohio State is a Nike school. Alabama's a Nike school.
Georgia's
a Nike school. Clemson's a Nike school, yeah. LSU's a Nike school. And
I think the last one who wasn't was Auburn. I think they were Under Armour.
Yeah, but that's pre college football playoff.
That's pre-playoff, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can't go against Greg here.
Yeah,
they are the key.
They're the key to the national championship. You got to do it. I can't take you seriously. Honestly, I will. If they don't do it, Jamie, I'm gonna go live, and you don't have to be on the show. Okay, you don't have to be on the show.
You could go.
If it breaks in July, I'm gonna do a live show where I just yell for an hour, and people can be in the chat, and I'm just gonna go off. Seriously, go with it.
I think just my only other thing to add in it is that I think if Nike gets Notre Dame gets Nike, whatever. I really think Nike is going to be like, we have Notre Dame, and we have a really like, they will blow up the brand.
Yeah,
like they will, because it's like one of those things where it's like, we have this iconic brand. It's like, okay, you get Penn State, like who gives a crap about Penn State? You know what I mean? Like they're not going to do anything real there where they can. Penn State doesn't have a national brand where you could, where it can mean something. And there's just so few programs that you can really kind of do something extra with.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think like Notre Dame is one of them. And so I do think Nike would have a chance to really blow it out with Notre Dame. Man, just fingers crossed.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I don't want to do a live show where I get mad for an hour. I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm busy. I have things to do. So, all right, Jamie, we did it. That's an hour of hot takes. Really enjoyed it. That was fun. We even have one on the back burner. We'll save for next time. So, thank you everyone for the comments. That was really fun. I liked everyone's hot takes. If I missed anyone in the chat, I apologize for that. I tried to get some of the hot takes in there from the chat to get on the show. So that was really good. So we'll be doing this throughout the off season as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Everyone have a great Father's Day this weekend. If you like what you heard here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Links to the podcast are in the description below. We'll be back next week talking probably recruiting, right, Jamie? We got official visitors. Check out my show with Christian from Tuesday if you haven't done so. A lot of good information on past visitors, on upcoming visitors, on everything you're looking for. So check us out there. Have a good weekend, everyone, and we will talk to you next week.